Hey, how's it going tonight? I hope you are all doing well. This is Geometry Assignment 8. Let's math it up. Okay, so today we are going to be checking out assignment number 8 for our geometry, and we are still focusing on our Pythagorean theorem. So for the first few, we're going to be doing some really straightforward finding the hypotenuse, right? Finding c squared, finding the length of c. And then we're going to go finding some legs, and we're going to do lots of practice. So stick with us as we go through this, and we should come out knowing this a little better. Just going to adjust my music a little bit. Okay, let's check out what we have here. So first question set is right there, and 1A. This is the most classic triangle, the 3, 4, 5 triangle. I already know it, but I got to show my work here. So step 1, we're going to write out the formula. Oh, a squared plus b squared will be equal to c squared. We're going to fill in our known values. Let's say a is 4. So we're going to square that. We're going to add b, which side b is going to be 3 squared. Just going to write that nicer. 3 squared. And that will be equal to side c squared. So 16 plus 9 will equal the square of c. So that means 25 will equal the square of c, so we need to then find the square root of both sides. The square root of 25 will be 5, and the square root of c squared is just c. So our answer is c is equal to 5. That is answer for 1A. Not too hard there. Let's go into our next question here. So we have I'm just adjusting my music volume a little bit. All right, so we have 8 and 6 as our sides. So we want to go the square of side A plus the square of side B will be equal to the square of side C. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Let's put in our 6 squared plus 8 squared is equal to our square of side C, which we don't know yet. So 6 squared is going to be 36 plus our 8 squared, which will be 64. This will be equal to our C squared. So this is going to be 100 is equal to C squared. And when we find the square root of these, both of these, it's going to be 10 is equal to C, or C is equal to 10. That's what we're looking for. Next one, our 8, 9 triangle. Is this a Pythagorean triple? Is this going to give us a whole number? Let's find out. So we want to go in, and we go the square of side A plus the square of side B will be equal to the square of side C. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. We want to go 8 squared plus 9 squared will be equal to C squared. So this is going to be 64 plus 81 will be equal to C squared. Now, this is going to be 145. 145 is equal to c squared. Now I know 12 squared is 144, so this is not going to be a whole number. This is going to be a decimal. So I'm going to go to my calculator and I'm going to say 145 and then square root. What's the square root? No, not squared. 145 square root 12.04. So I'm going to write that out. 12.04. And so square of that is going to be 12.04 and c. So c is equal to 12.04. I'd love to round that, but if you round that, let's see what 1c says. Yeah, 12. If you round that, that's not going to be nearly as accurate. 1c. But it's rounded it to the nearest tenth, so that's kind of what it does to get its answer on this particular type of worksheet. So let's go to 1D, 2 and 4. So we're going to go 2 and 4. So once again, a squared plus b squared equals c squared. 2 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared. So 4 plus 16 is equal to c squared. So this is 20 will be equal to the square of c. We want to find the square root of 20, and that's going to be c. The square root of 20, I think, is 4.4 if you round it to the nearest tenth. 20 square root 4.47. So we're going to round that up to 4.5. Well, let's leave it 47, and on the answer sheet it'll be 4.5 because they rounded. There's our answer. C equals 4.47. Let's do 1E. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now, once again, this is the square of side A plus the square of side B is equal to the square of side C. So let's call side A 8 squared, let's call side B 5 squared, and let's call side C squared because we don't know it yet. And this is going to be 64 plus 25 equals c squared. Now 64 plus 20 is 84. 89 is equal to c squared. What's the square root of 89? 9 and a bit. Square root of 9 is 81, so it's going to be like 9.2. 9.2, that's my guess. 89 square root 9.43. I was a little bit off. So let's say 9.4. We'll round that. 9.4. 9.4 is our length of C, or we can write it as C is equal to 9.4. Either way, I think this is correct technically, but often teachers want you to put it like that. All right, let's move on to 1F. 3, ooh, it's a decimal. 3.8 and 3.2. So a squared plus b squared equals c squared. It's always good to write out that formula and fill in what we know. 3.8 squared plus 3.2 squared is equal to c squared. I don't have a good technique to square these. 3.8 squared plus 3.2 squared equals 24.68. 24.68. So if you noticed, what I did there was I immediately took these two, squared them, and added them on my calculator. So I'm kind of saving a writing step here and jumping straight to my combined squares, which is totally fine, especially when you have a nice calculator. 4.96. Let's leave it at 4.96. 4.96. And we're going to round that up is equal to C. Oh, we're going to do square roots. That's what we did. We did our square roots and found C is equal to 4.96. And that would round up. That might round up to 5. So let's see if 1F is 5 on our answer chart here. 1F, yeah, 5. 4.96. So again, it's kind of rounding up. It rounds up to the nearest 10th. So be aware of that. Let's look at 2a, 12 and 12. So a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So this is going to be 12 squared plus 12 squared is equal to c squared. So 12 squared is 144 plus 144 is equal to c squared, which is 288 is equal to the square of side c. And when we find the square root of this, it will be 288 square root 16.97. That's going to round up to 17. 16.97. That answer is going to round up to 17. That's it. C equals 16.97. Let's do 2b, 11 and 7. So we have a squared plus b squared equals c squared. 11 squared plus 7 squared equals c squared. So we have 121 plus 49 is equal to c squared, which will be 170. 170 is equal to c squared. 144, 12, 169. So it'll be like 13.08. That's my guess. 170 square root 13.038. So when we do square roots on these, 13.0304. Let's round that up to the nearest hundred there, is equal to C, or C is equal to 13.04. Now, I like to be a little more accurate, but again, you got to know this is rounding to the nearest tenth, so this would just round down to 13. So if you get what I got, you're correct. Okay. 1, 2, C. Ooh, some bigger numbers now. More calculator coming on. A squared plus b squared equals c squared. So let's say a is 19 squared plus b is 13 squared. Oops. Plus 13 squared is equal to the square of side c. 19 squared. 361 plus 169 equals c squared. I'm just going to check my 19 squared. 19 squared, 361, okay. 361 plus 169 equals 530 square, oops. 530 square root is 23.02. 530 is equal to c squared. And then my answer was 33.02. So the square root of 530 is 23.022 is equal to c. That's our answer. So good so far. I haven't encountered anything too difficult yet. This is pretty straightforward, especially if you're using a calculator. This is important. But as you go through these, you should be starting to memorize some of these common squares that you're getting. All right, so a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. A squared is 17 squared plus 14 squared is equal to c squared. Now 17 squared, I don't know, 14 squared, 196. I'm gonna check both those. 17 squared, 289. 14 squared, 14 squared, 196, okay. I forgot 17 squared now. 17 squared is equal to 289. 289 plus 196 is equal to c squared. 485. 485 is equal to c squared. 196 plus 196, 485. Found the square root, 22.02. So the square root of that is 22.02 is equal to c. So it's always interesting, again, we're rounding this to the nearest number. That's important for you to acknowledge, important for you to pay attention to, because you're going to look at the answer sheet and you're going to say, well, that's not what I got, which it is. It is what you got. It's just been rounded to the nearest tenth, which is a big round when you're talking about these little decimals, when you're talking about squaring a number anyway. Okay, let's do 2e. 2e. A squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So we go 7 squared plus 7.1 squared is equal to c squared. 7 squared is 49. Plus 7.1 squared. I'm not sure. I don't have a good strategy. 7.1 squared. 50.41. 50.41. So 99.41. 99.41 is equal to c squared. So the square root of that's going to be like 9.9 something. 99.41 square root 9.97. So close to 10. Square root is going to be 9.97 is equal to c, or c is equal to 9.97. All right. E, 9.97. 7.6 and 3.8. All right, let's write out our formula. A squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. That's C line. C squared. A squared is 7.6 squared plus B squared is 3.8 squared is equal to C squared. 7.6. So I'm going to do the calculator 3 thing. 7.6 squared plus, oops, hold on. 7.6 squared plus 3.8 squared equals 72.2. 72.2 is equal to C squared. So we need to find the square root of that, which will equal C, but 72.2 square root 8.49. 8.49. That's going to be rounded up to 8.5 in our answers. 8.5 is our C. All right, so we're going into question set number 3, and we're finding the missing leg now. So we're going to have to do some algebra in the sense of doing the same thing on both sides and eliminating to isolate a variable. And it's just like an extra step and working backwards a little bit, and watch what we do as we work through. So A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. We don't have AB, we have BC. So A squared, we don't know, plus 6 squared will be equal to 10 squared. So we don't know A squared, but we know that 36 is equal to 100. Something squared plus 36 equals 100. We want to now isolate, get rid of this 36, and we have to do that, subtract 36 from both sides. On this side, when you add, let's talk about that. When you add 36, we're going to add 36 and then subtract 36. When you add it and then subtract it, it goes back to 0. So it's really like we've done nothing there. But when you do it to the other side in balance, it changes. So we're left with A squared is equal to 64. Now you're left, A squared is equal to 64. And you can square root both of those numbers to get A will be equal to 8. And that's our answer. 64, square root is 8. It's one of those ones you should know. It's a nice round whole number. 4, 5. So this is a Pythagorean triple. 3, 4, 5. We already know it. We've seen it before on other worksheets. We know this is 3, but I want to show my work so we can practice getting there. Let's write our formula. A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. Let's pretend we don't know A, but we do know B. It is 4 squared is equal to 5 squared, because we know C. We know B and we know C, but we don't know A. Where's A? So we're going to go A squared is equal to 6, oops, not equal to, is A squared plus 16 is equal to 25. And when we look at this, we go, a number squared plus 16 is equal to 25. We can isolate this variable of A by subtracting 16 from both sides, leaving this side to cancel out, leaving only A squared. On the other side, it leaves us with 9. And then we can find the square root of both numbers. The square root of A squared is A, and the square root of 9 is 3. So that is A is equal to 3, which is what we said at the start, but now we've proven it and shown our work. 2, 4. So let's write this out. We'll go A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. We know we don't know A squared. We can assume this is B squared is 2 squared and C is 4 squared. We can say a squared plus 4 is equal to 16. We can subtract 4 from both sides, leaving this side with an isolated a squared variable and the other side with 12. Now, the square root of a squared is a, and the square root of 12 is 3.4. I don't know. What's the square root of 12? 12 square root, 3.46. 3.46. I'm going to keep that. There's our answer. All right. Question 3. All right, changing it up here. We are doing D, 3D. Given the hypotenuse, the C, and we're given the B, not the A. Let's I never know what music is going to come up on my playlist, but sometimes it's awesome, sometimes I'm questioning it. All right, so we're going to go A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. We know we don't know A. I like leaving it. We don't know A, but we do know B. It just, in my mind, it makes it a little simpler. B is 3 squared. And we do know C, that is 10 squared. So a number squared plus 9 is equal to 100. Whoa. So we can subtract 9 from both sides, minus 9. And we can say a number to the power of 2, number squared, is equal to 91. And we'll do that on our calculators. 91 square root 9.53. Square root 9. A is equal to 9.53. That's our answer for 3D. Okay. A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. We do not know A squared, but we do know B is 4.5 squared, and C squared is 5.2 squared. We can do those. A squared is equal to, it's going to be close to 20. 4.5 squared, 20.25. 20.25 is equal to 5.2 squared. 5.2 squared is 2704. Whoa. 27.04. So we can subtract 20.25 from both sides. This side it'll cancel out, leaving A squared is equal to, and then we can subtract 20.25 from this side. 27 minus 20.25 equals 6.79. 6.79. And then we can square root both of these. And square root 2.6. A, the side A, is equal to 2.6. 2.6. All right, what's the next one here? 3F. 3f, 3.1, 4, or 3.9, 4.1. Okay, same technique. A squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. We go, let's leave a squared as a variable, plus 3.9 squared is equal to 4.1 squared. So a squared, a number squared, plus, what's 3.9 squared? 3.9 squared is 15.21. 15.21 is equal to, this is like pretty sassy music here. Why don't we do Chilltendo? How about that? Synthwave Nintendo. Chilltendo. All right. 4.1 squared. 4.1 squared is 16.81. 16.81. And we can subtract 15.21 here, which cancels out. And then we can subtract 15.21 here, which will be 1.61. A squared is equal to 6. Whoa, no. 6. That's going to be 1.6. Yeah, that's 6, and that's 1. Yeah, okay. A squared is equal to 1.6, which is going to be 0.4. 1.6 square root point. Whoa. Yeah, all right, that makes sense. 1.6 square root 1.26. So A will be equal to 1.26. Oh, that's interesting. I immediately broke this one in my mind and made it into 16. And then I was like, the square root of 16. I'm like in the way here. The square root of 16 is 4, so the square root of this must be 0.4. But if you times 0.4 by 0.4, you're going to get less than that. You get 0.016. 0.0016. I'm interested now. 0.4 squared. 0.16. What? 0.4 times 0.4. Anyway. Thought for another time. Last one. We're finding the missing leg again. 6 more questions. We gotta practice, drill this in, get these algebraic techniques really solidified in our minds. We're gonna go, and that's not my, okay. A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. A squared plus B squared equals C squared, and we're given, let's leave it as A, we don't know, plus 9 squared is equal to 10 squared, and then a number we don't know, squared plus 81 is equal to 100, and we can subtract 81 from both sides, leaving us with A squared is equal to 19, and then we have to find the square root of both of these numbers, which will be square root of 19, what, 4.2. Let's see. Let's go 19 square root 4.35. A is equal to 4.35. Answer for B. Once again, write out my formula. A squared plus B squared squared is equal to C squared. Getting tired of writing my exponents. C squared. Now, let's replace what we have. We don't know A squared. We do know that B squared is 7 squared, and we know that C is 9 squared. A, some number that we don't know, A, plus 49 will be equal to 81. Let's isolate A, 80, whoopsies, isolate A, subtract 49 from both sides. Oh my gosh, subtract 49 from both sides. On this side, it leaves us with just 0 and leaves us with A squared is equal to 32. When we find the square root of those two numbers, we're going to be left with 5.6. A is equal to the square root of 32. 32 square root 5.65. 5.65. It will round in the answers. It will round. Remember, so be careful. All right, what are we on here? We are on question 2C. Question 4C. We are A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared, and that means A squared plus 6 squared is equal to 7 squared. So A squared plus 36 is equal to 49. And we can subtract 36 from each side. This side is going to isolate our variable of A squared. On the other side, it's going to be 1913. The square root of 13 will be equal to the square root of A squared, which is A. So A will be equal to the square root of 13, which is 13 square root 3.6. 3.6. I didn't guess that time. I might have been close. Who knows? Let's look at the next question. Question 4D. So we have A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. And we want to fill in what we know. We don't know A squared. We do know 2 squared is equal to 6 squared. A number squared plus 4 is equal to 36. Let's subtract, oops, that's a 7. Subtract 4 from each side. And we just did this one. We just did a 32. A squared will be equal to 32, which we do it up here. This one here. We did square root of 32, 5.65. Square root of 32. Aha! I remembered that A will be equal to 5.65. Saved a few clicks on that calculator. All right. Write out our formula. A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. We do our A squared, next step on our formula, plus 3.4 is equal to 5.3 squared. Put our squareds in there. a squared plus, what's 3.4 squared? 3.4 squared. 11.56. 11.56 is equal to 5.3 squared. 5.3 squared. 28.9. 28.9. 28.9. 09. 09. 56 minus 11.56 equals 16.53. 16.53. All right, so I'm going to go minus 11.56 minus 11.56, and I'm going to cross that out, and I'm going to say a squared is equal to 16.56 I'm going to find my square root here, and a will be equal to the square root of 16.53. 16.53 square root 4.06. 06 is our answer. $11.2 and 9.8. All right, last question here. A squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. And we have a squared plus 9.8 squared is equal to 11.2 squared. A squared plus, what is 9.8 squared? 9.8 squared, 96.04. 96.04 is equal to 11.2 squared. 11.2 squared, which is 125.44. 125.44. So let's, next step, subtract 96.04. Subtract 96.04 from both sides. This is going to isolate that, leaving us with a squared. A squared is equal to subtract 96.04 equals 29.4. 29.4. We'll find the square root of that. 29.4 square root 5.42. So a is equal to 5.42. Oh, what did I say? 5.42. Yeah. That's it. That's our last question. That's our worksheet for today. I hope that made sense. I hope that was a helpful walkthrough. I hope that practice was beneficial to you. Remember to keep mathing it up. Peace out.